What is love? Well, for me, my father left when I was 2, and I was surrounded by aunts and uncles and even my grandmother who was divorced. So for me, love didn't last. Love was temporary, and it wasn't a forever thing. So that carried into my relationships. When I was about a sophomore in high school, I had my first serious relationship. And after a while of dating, we thought we were in love and everything was great. And slowly, the pressure started to set into the relationship. And it came to the point where he said, well, girl, if you really love me, if you truly love me, you'd prove it to me. You'd show me just how much you love me. So I needed advice. So I went to my girlfriends and I said, well, he kind of wants to do this with me and he wants to do that. And they said, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I love him. So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us and we'd be on cloud 9 and so in love. And in all actuality, eventually it destroyed any love we had in that relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. Because if I couldn't even respect my own body, how is he supposed to respect it? And after a while of dating, it seemed like he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. And when a girl is being used, she knows it. She knows it in the depths of her heart. She may deny it, she may ignore it, but she knows it, and I knew it. And after a while, we were constantly fighting. He was cheating on me, and we broke up and went our separate ways. Now, I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was in the cafeteria talking with my girlfriends. And I came to this conclusion, okay, if a guy can date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I think now 6 months. 6 months is the price that I put on my body. If he gives me just a little bit of that time, just a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. He was the first guy that I slept with, but he wasn't the last because sin took me further than I ever wanted to go or ever expected to go. Now, after a while of living this lifestyle, I got into the partying, I got into the drinking, I got into the clubbing, I got into the drugs. You name it, I was into it. And granted, at the time, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very attractive, and I know what that's like. But I also know what it's like to wake up the next day when that party's over, when your friends are gone, and when you're there by yourself. And I remember waking up thinking, I can't believe I did that last night. I hope I don't have to see his face in the hallway at school on Monday. What if everybody finds out what we did? All of these things constantly going through my head. But the night before, my friends would always say, oh, it's all fun and games. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But the next day, the fun and games were over. And I remember one day waking up so disgusted and overwhelmed with the feeling of worthlessness. And I thought to myself, what's not the big deal here? My body, my self-respect, my dignity, what's not the big deal here? And I wasn't happy. And I knew I wasn't happy, but I thought, well, I'm damaged goods. It's already too late. There's nothing I can do. Now, after a while of living this lifestyle, my mother had an idea what was going on with me. And she said, well, there's a chastity talk at a church this weekend and you're going. And I said, what? I said, I am not going to a chastity talk to listen to some guy talk about sex. Thanks, but no thanks. She said, well, you're going if you like it or not. And I said, okay, fine. I'll sit in the back of the church for 15 minutes and then I'm out of there. I have a party to go to, I have friends to see. I don't have time. But in that 15 minutes, God had changed my life because he is the God of second chances. And there was this guy that got up and he talked about all of the partying, all of the sex, all the pornography, everything that he had been into, and he just laid it out. And I felt like that guy, he had grabbed my hand out of the audience and he walked through my life. Like he could see the things I was most ashamed of and hiding. And I thought, well, what's the difference? He's done the same exact things I've done. And I just watched him. And he just had this peace and this joy. and this confidence that he carried about himself that I didn't see that in my friends. I didn't see that in the places I went to, and I definitely didn't see that in the guys I was dating. But he had one quality above all of them that I wanted more than anything, and it's that he wasn't ashamed of himself. I sat in my seat trying to figure out one day after I started living that lifestyle of just true peace and joy, not worried what I'd done prior that night, prior that weekend, always worried, but never any peace. And I realized in that moment, I needed to get my standards out of the gutter and raise them as high as I possibly could and start respecting my body for once and start respecting my God. Now, our God is the God of second chances, and he changed my life. He turned me around, and he gave me the grace to get out of that lifestyle. And I tried so many times to get out of that lifestyle on my own because I was miserable, I wasn't happy, I was disgusted with myself, and I just needed to get out. And I tried so many times, and I promised myself, I'm never gonna do that again. And then the next weekend, I was doing the same exact things. But then I realized when you ask the grace from God, and I begged him to get me out of that lifestyle, he did. And if you really want to turn your life around, if you really want to start over, you have to do it with Jesus, or you're going to fall right back into the same old habits that you had. Now, after I turned my life around, well, a lot of my friends, they thought it was some big joke, right? They were constantly making fun of me. And I went home and I told someone what was going on. The best advice they could give me was, oh, don't worry about it. Just ignore it. You're doing the right thing. Well, I tell you today, if anyone makes fun of you for living out a lifestyle of chastity, of purity, of respecting your body, and you get made fun of for that, you remember it. You remember every single word they say to you. You go home, you make a book of it, you write it all down. Because when you stand on that altar one day in front of your husband, you tell me, where is the laughter? Where is the mockery? Who will be making fun of you then? Nobody. There will be complete silence in that church on that day. And any of those people that made fun of you would pay $1 million to be in your shoes. And your life is so much more than what is going on right now in this moment. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done. It doesn't matter. All that matters now is where you go from here.